say it was a question that I get, but I don't really talk to many people. I talk to more people online now. That's probably going to be the next video that I make because there's a YouTuber that I watch and she was talking. Actually, she's been talking about it for years now, wanting to be more social. And I send her messages on Instagram saying like, "Oh, you should stream, you should do this." Like it doesn't seem like it's social because you're not there in person, but really it helps with a lot of the social things. Yeah, yeah. They call it social media for a reason, right? And yeah, one thing that's been helping me a lot with things is watching streamers, being able to talk with someone that is live, you know, joking around, hanging out. The Discord, that's why I'm always on Discord now, just because it's like, hey, we'll just hang out in there. Sometimes we're not even talking, but just the fact that you're seeing people online is like, oh, they're chilling with you, you know. Yeah, having watch parties, getting into a voice channel, and everyone watching a movie together or watching a show together. But yeah, that's gonna be other videos. Right now we're doing guitar. Okay. I'm gonna be chopping this up. It's funny because I was like, okay, things that you could do without a guitar, and then I pick up a guitar. With, okay, so what do you do when you have a guitar? Right, definitely need a tuner. You don't have to spend money on one. There are plenty of free tuners that you could find on your phone, and nowadays the microphones on phones are pretty good that you're gonna get pretty precise tuning. Yeah, the only reason why you want to spend money on a tuner is to get something like this. Okay, and what this little guy does is it's a regular tuner and a strobe tuner. Okay, and so yeah, and like there's like different modes on it, so you can get the different types of tuning. Strobe tuning is like the modern day high tech, more precise tuning. You'll be fine with just a regular tuner though. You don't need strobe tuning. Strobe tuning is like for the very picky. And then also like if you're running a shop or something, yeah, you don't want any excuses. You want it to be precise. I wanted to say it was a question that I get, but I don't really talk to many people. I talk to more people online now. That's probably going to be the next video that I make because there's a YouTuber that I watch and she was talking. Actually, she's been talking about it for years now, wanting to be more social. And I send her messages on Instagram saying like, "Oh, you should stream, you should do this." Like it doesn't seem like it's social because you're not there in person, but really it helps with a lot of the social things. Yeah, yeah. They call it social media for a reason, right? And and yeah, one thing that's been helping me a lot with things is watching streamers, being able to talk with someone that is live, you know, joking around, hanging out. The Discord, that's why I'm always on Discord now, just because it's like, hey, you know, get to say something, post something, or you know, other people that are just and it's like we'll just hang out in there. Sometimes we're not even talking, but just the fact that you're seeing people online is like, oh, they're chilling with you, yeah, having watch parties, getting into a voice channel, and everyone watching a movie together or watching a show together. It's it's fun and it's social, it's yeah. But yeah, that's gonna be other videos. Right now we're doing guitar. Okay. All right. So, oh man, I'm gonna be chopping this up. Gonna be all over the place. It's gonna be all over the place. That, like I keep telling myself, I need to just like start over, but I'm like, no, no, let's just do it. We're doing it live, doing it real. Right. So, what kind of tuning? Well, you got what they call standard tuning. EADGBD, or sorry, E. My mine's in D because I'm a full step down. So that means whole note down. Half a step would be half a note, um, which would be flat. So standard tuning, tuned half a step down, is known as flat tuning. Um, and a lot of acoustic, there are a lot of songs that are in that. And then, really, if you want your standard tuning back, you get one of these guys called a capo, and you put it on the first fret, and then that'll be back to regular standard. Okay, go back to standard tuning. Okay, no flat, nothing flat. All right, go back to that one. The top one, make a D, so it'll sound like this string, but it'll be that one. Okay, so let's see, this should be able to do that, and it should sound okay. All right. If it's not dropped, it's not going to sound okay. So, and another way that you could tell is like if you don't have a tuner or whatever. That's why I'm saying get a tuner. Okay, but if you want your strings to make sense with each other, you can always do the fifth fret check. Okay, and you tune them with each other. Just as long as you have one string in tune, you can usually find it. Okay, the ones down here though will be on the fourth one. Then you go to fifth again. All right, but what we're doing here is, see, those are in tune, because this is a D and that's a D. All right, and then when you get to your third highest string, you go to the fourth fret, and then those will be in tune. See, right now they're slightly out of tune because you can hear the buzz. That's makes more sense, but it's still slightly out of tune, and I'm pretty sure it's this bottom one. So let's see. Now the top one. See, there we go. And that was without a tuner. Tuner's not on. Now my tuner's on. So let's see what it says. Oh, that's still flat, actually. I probably want to keep it though, just like I was saying earlier. I haven't changed these strings in a long time, which means like there's a good chance they can break. And I wish, right? Yeah, the mic's in the way. You can kind of see a reflection on there, but you can't really see the right. I need double cameras or whatnot so you can see the tuner. That's an F, G, C, F again, C. Yeah, those are flat. So we're gonna actually do this. Now, some people will say, oh, we don't need to hear your tuning, like mute yourself. And okay, they're right, but this isn't for them. When you're doing tuning and stuff, it's for you, okay? And you need to be able to hear how it's being tuned. It's a little complex to explain. Pretty much you're training the way that your brain recognizes the notes and the intervals, and it's just something that you need to do. Sure, other people will be annoyed by it, I don't want to say screw them. But really, it's like screw them. You're training your ear. You're trying to learn something, and it's not just about tuning your strings, okay? Because being in tune with the instrument is a thing, and being in tune with the room is a thing. Being in tune with your other instruments is a thing, okay? As you get into more and more complex ways of making music, not everyone is going to be in the same tuning. You're going to have certain instruments that are in drop tuning. The drums are going to be in a certain tuning, um, and yeah, and it is important. Like if you're, you, like even if you're not going to be taking it seriously, right? But like you want to learn proper stuff. That's one of the things that you need to know. You need to train yourself on what that is. You know, what is that? It's a C. That's a C. A sharp, A, and see, it's like I remember this because of where it's at. Like I don't need to look at a tuner. You know, I know the sound of it now because of hearing damage, and as you get older, your recognition of things goes down like by half steps. It's very weird. And so you have to like mentally adjust to that, and then like so you're like retuning what's going on in here, and you can't properly do that if you don't recognize the different intervals, like the difference between those. Right, you need to know that that's only a fret away, that's 2 frets away, that's 4, like that. Like you need to be able to hear the differences, and that all starts with the tuning. And so standard tuning, then you turn the thick string down a full step so it matches this one, or not, sorry, not that one, not that one either, it's just open, getting ahead of myself. Technically, this is the first time that I've ever been asked to do like lessons. I mean, I've given people lessons even when they haven't asked, or it turns into like me giving them a lesson or whatnot. But it was never anything that like I sat down and like, oh, okay, day one, we need to learn about this. Day two, we need to learn about this. I've only recently just started thinking about that because it came up in the stream. So, and yeah, I was like stretches, getting the guitar clean slash set up. Um, is definitely like the first things that you're going to be doing, um, and that you want to get into the habit of, and tuning, because like yeah, if two strings are out of tune from each other, yeah, what are you going to be doing, right? Let's see, let's get these back. Oh yeah. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear it, and these strings are definitely going to break soon. All right, let's see. And just in case, if you don't have eye protection, right, you don't need to be looking at what's happening, okay? Look away, all right? Just in case a string does break, you don't want to get any in the eye or anything, bad news. So, and my adjustments, they're very minor. Like you got to get used to just making little tiny adjustments. Now, when it's like when you're dropping the string or whatnot, you can go a little bigger, but just remember if you drop it too much, okay, these ones are automatically going to get tighter. And if that happens too fast, and if they were already like close to their breaking point, they're going to snap just from you tuning a different string. So keep that in mind. Um, it's a balance situation. You'll notice, like, as you're tuning, if you get one string exactly where you want it, then you go to tune another one. That one that you just got to where you want it is going to be off now, and it's most likely going to be flatter because you tightened a different string. So it's going to take that energy from it. So, with that in mind, if the guitar's just been sitting there for a couple days or whatnot and you haven't been playing it, there's a good chance that it goes out of tune. Depending on how good the setup is and what kind of guitar it is, does depend on how drastic that is. Sometimes, like if it's well oiled, if you are playing it all the time, you really don't have to tune it if you're not going crazy on it. Yeah, but you know, eventually it will go slightly out of tune, or you will need to tune it. I would suggest if it's been sitting there for a little bit, you definitely want to go slightly up first, so make it tighter. You're going to make it sharp, and then you want to go down. Okay, go down like half a step to a full step of note, and then tune back up to where you need to be. So it's retightening. The process of that is pretty much you're overcharging the string with energy, okay, when you make it sharp. And then when you lower it, you relieve it of that energy, okay? And then as you come back up, you're giving the energy back. And so what ends up happening if the guitar has just been sitting there for a while, the energy that's put on it is from the whole instrument adjusting itself to being on a stand and being in the environment that it's in. And so what ends up happening is that it gets what I call negative energy or negative tension. Okay. Even, and it's not negative in the way where it's flat, it's negative where um, it's not helping it. It's not positive. Okay. Like positive is like, it's the good energy, the good tension. Okay. It's like through life you have different types of stress. You have good stress, you have bad stress, you know, and you have fun stress, like pain, right? When you're working out, that's a good pain. That's a good type of pain. It's still pain though. Same type of idea, okay? Where you want to give it a little more energy, so it's almost like wearing it out, overloading it, okay? And when you loosen it, all that goes away, even the negative tension that was put on there while the instrument was just sitting there. And you'll know what I'm talking about if you don't do this. What ends up happening is, like, say you pick up the instrument and you're like, oh, I'm a little flat because it's been sitting there, right? And sometimes it'll be sharp, but sometimes it'll be flat. And you'll see it as like, oh, okay, I just need to tune it up a little bit. And you'll tune it up according to the tuner. Everything's in tune, sounds all right. And then when you play, it doesn't mix well. It doesn't sound right. It's too sharp or too something, right? And you have to end up doing the adjustment anyways. So it's like from the very get go, you you want to loosen it so all that tension goes away, right? And bring it back up to the point. The same with when you're adjusting your pickups. You're going to want to lower them first and then raise them up to where you want. And why? Because you're tightening the screws and you want everything to be tight when you're all done with it. You don't want anything loose. And so, yeah, you just got to over adjust in a way when really you're just setting yourself up to make a good adjustment. Where if you don't do that, yeah, it's just you're adding more negative tension to it. That's all you're doing, and it's gonna have to be relieved at some point. From my experience, I think that's how a lot of strings break and stuff. There's also a technique that I do when I tune where it's like, because a lot of strums that you're doing are down, right? But a lot of them are also on the up strum, okay? And you're not doing it on every string, you're not doing it all the time, but sometimes that's what you need to do. And so, as you're tuning the string, you're going to want to do some downstrokes and some upstrokes, okay? Even though they sound the same, what's happening is pretty much the way that the string spins and vibrates. Because when you're looking at vibrate, it's really going in a circle. It's not going like this, it's going in a circle, okay? And so that circle will switch directions depending on if it's a downstroke or an upstroke, right? Which means that when you're tightening it up here, how it's being wrapped around. And so if like doing the opposite just guarantees that it's even and it's not constantly being uh, focused in one direction because it causes a broken string. It's yeah, it doesn't matter. Definitely if you're changing strings all the time, and that's because like you're playing shows or something, then yeah, that's something that you you most likely will have an engineer or something doing it for you at that point. Um, but like if you're doing it yourself, just know that that's one of the things that um, you want to keep in mind is how the strings being wrapped, how much tension. Right, like definitely when you're going on travel, you're gonna want to loosen the strings. Like you don't want it um, to where you're tuned. Like it's not gonna help anything. If anything, it's gonna make it more likely for something to break or crack while it's while you're traveling with it. So yeah. Okay, back to tuning. We got standard, we got flat, we got drop D. Okay, well drop. Okay, I didn't finish explaining drop D. Okay, so drop D is pretty much um, tuning this top string all the way down to D. So from E to D, just like this one. Okay, now if you're following along with a tuner, you're going to notice that this isn't a D, this is a C. Okay, and that's because I'm in drop C tuning, which is a full step down from the drop D tuning. So that's tuning every string from like that's all full steps there, okay? Those are all half steps. Right? First song you're going to learn. No, right? Probably get struck for that. I mean, that that'll be an interesting test. That'll be an interesting test. I don't think I have the rights to play that. God, back in the day, you had to pay to have "Happy Birthday" sung. I don't know if you still need to do it. You, I wouldn't be surprised if some places still make you do it. But maybe I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like you're not allowed to charge for it anymore because some restaurants were making bank off of that. Oh, you want us to sing "Happy Birthday"? Well, it's copyright, so you know you got to pay. Well, it was like $50 or something, or $100 to sing it. Jeez, stupid. Yeah, but I would suggest for the first tuning. And this is just because for me, standard tuning was always really high. And like I was saying earlier, when it comes to more complex music making, um, the instruments are going to be in slightly different tunings. So they harmonize with each other. Because if you have two standards, definitely a bass and standard, um, and two guitars or three guitars, like if you got four instruments all in standard doing the same chord, it's too much, and that's the whole idea, right? Guitars are supposed to be staying on the on this part. And it's like you can have a rhythm guitar doing what something with the bass or what the bass is doing, but they're doing chords. Like, and then your bass is doing something, right? You can't have them all in the same tuning, or else it's going to be muddy. Definitely when you mix it, it's not going to make any sense. That's why when you hear an actual song, uh, like an actual recording from an album or whatever, there are multiple guitars being layered over it. There are all kinds of things going on that it's like when you go to play that song on a stage, it's going to sound completely different if you just have a couple instruments playing it. Yeah, so I would suggest as your first tuning not to do standard. Um, Standard would be because you you know you got the song in that key or whatever. Now, flat is, in my opinion, the best way to go, because really, if you need to go to standard, you can throw a capo on there and voila, right? Here, I'll even do an example. And I mean, if you're feeling like, if you're not learning how to read music, or worrying about notes, or like what a C is or anything like that, I would say even go full step down to like what I'm doing, drop C. But flat or drop D, I would suggest being your first um, tunings. Why? Because when you're flat, now I'm just gonna tune this up to D. See, I can no longer do the one finger doesn't sound good anymore. And that's why I'm suggesting do one of the drop tunings, is so you don't have to worry about finger structure or whatnot, and you can still jam along with shit. You can still figure it out with the major power chords or minor, whatever. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. What you want to get used to is getting your fingers moving around and having it sound like something. Okay. Now, so say that we were flat, even though we're dropped right now. So this is what an A minor in standard would be the, well, actually, would technically be the, that's what it would sound like on a standard tuning. But since I'm dropped, this is what it is. That's the difference. And so, say that you were matching along with someone in standard while you were dropped. Okay. So you're like, oh, okay, so your fingers are here. I'm going to put my fingers there. What this does is it guarantees that when you two play along with each other, you're doing pretty much this. Okay, one of you are going to be that guy. The dropped one is going to be that guy. And that's going to be the standard. Okay, so no matter what you guys play, it's going to sound okay. It's going to sound good, right? Now, of course, if they're playing something down here and you're doing something up here, you're gonna have to find, like, because this note, those are the same notes, just different octaves. So once you pass this fret right here, you're now in a different octave, and that'll come later on. like I was saying earlier, the patterns of the dots and no dots. Like if you're focusing on that, like you don't need to worry about what a D is or what a G is or what an A is or anything like that. And so learning open chords, as they call them. See, so now that's a D when it's supposed to be an E. Because in standard tuning, it's an E. Now say that I wanted to get that tone back. Instead of putting it on the first fret, if I was flat, I put it down another one so it's a full step, okay? And it brings it back to the EAD. So now I'm able so that's A minor, A, E, a D, a C. So that's what the standard would sound like, but you'd be playing it up on what they call the nut. That's his name right here. And yeah, one of the, like, if there's someone at your local guitar shop that's like, hey, I'm offering free stuff, like, so I can learn how to do it, see if they'll replace the nut for you for free. Because it's normally a little pricey process, but it can be done like along with the setup. And you want to get what's called a bone nut, okay, and not a plastic. All right, and so that's what this is, bone. Yeah. Not only, I mean, to me, the tone was significantly better when it was switched to bone, but pretty much what it does is it guarantees no wear and tear. It just helps the strings. It helps so much. It's one of the first things that you're gonna want done when it comes to customizing your guitar. And it doesn't matter what brand guitar you got. I guess if you got like some kind of weird tuning mechanisms going on, because there's some weird ones out there now. You are going to want to learn open chords eventually, and that's probably like lesson 2, depending on what kind of tuning you got going on. So standard tuning, yeah, you would want to get to know the actual notes with the standard tuning. Because if it's flat, it's going to be flat. Now, like I was saying, there are plenty of songs in flat. Like, so you're doing the open chords, but they're flat. And me doing this sounds good even though I'm dropped, but it's not the C, that it's supposed to be. So, with that in mind, and having a capo, you're able to still get standard even if you're dropped. So I would suggest looking into doing flat tuning, just to, like, if you're not worried about the chords or whatever and just messing around, go flat, or drop D even. And I would say like a flat D, right? So you could still do the one finger chords. Let's see. Actually, I won't even turn it on. Let's see. Oh, damn, that's right on. This one needs to be up. Okay. Yeah, so if you do the drop, you're able to And then it'll also help you practice muting the top string with your middle finger or one of your other fingers when you're doing whatever chords, right? Because you don't want that to ring out if you're doing one of these. Because when it's dropped, but if you mute it, like if you just touch it, just not pressing it down, you're just holding it so it won't vibrate even if you hit it, it sounds okay. Yeah. Yeah, I realized that I hadn't mentioned the tuner before, so I wanted to make a video saying that that is definitely one of the things, one of the first things. What tuning are you playing in? And so, yeah, hopefully it's helpful. I'll explain more in the future, explain more on Discord. Um, yeah, have fun, everybody.